Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and our deck list comes to us from Adam, who wanted to see some BUG Midrange in action. I have made a handful of changes from Adam's original submission, and I want to briefly talk about that. Two things basically have changed here. Number one, the original deck list was based around a Field of the Dead mana base. So in case you're not familiar with that one, it enters the battlefield tapped, and whenever it or another land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands with different names, you get a zombie. And this becomes really powerful with effects like Primeval Titan that dump multiple lands into play at the same time, or fetch lands in particular. And I got rid of that. Right now, if I'm thinking about the pace of Legacy, where like way over here is Emrakul and Primeval Titans, and way down here is like, oops, all spells, we're pretty fast as far as Legacy is concerned right now. Decks like Initiative are putting a lot of pressure on the format, and free removal spells like Snuff Out are actually becoming more and more popular as people try to keep up with the pace of the format. So basically, I think it's a really bad time to be playing Field of the Dead. And that brings me to the other change that I made to the main deck. This originally had an extra copy of Jace the Mindsculptor, which, while Jace is a cool card and all, there's a lot of Pyroblast in the format right now, and the format's also fast, so I turned that into another Grist. Talking about the deck more generally, we're playing with a classic combo, I suppose, which is Sylvan Library plus Uro. Uro gains you life, draws you cards, and after padding your life total, you can draw more cards with Sylvan Library. Generally speaking, I'm not overly excited to be playing bug colors in Legacy right now. White removal is really good right now, and Fatal Push, for example, is going to miss Seasoned Dungeoneer and Murktide Regent, both of which are incredibly powerful and popular cards in the format right now. We're going to have some Assassin's Trophies to help out with that, but I am worried that my removal isn't always going to be turned on, and I did add a Sudden Edict to the main deck to just give me a little bit more flexibility in terms of removal. So we're hoping that this wide net that I'm casting between Fatal Push, Dress Down, Sudden Edict, Abrupt Decay, Assassin's Trophy kind of lines up well most of the time versus most of the threats that I see. In terms of the sideboard, I'm doing something which is either good or sketchy, and I'm not sure where it falls. For the initiative matchup, I wanted a protection from white creature, and that led me to Turok Dread Canter. Now, are we realistically going to get to black, black, black in order to kick this? No, probably not. I'm legitimately playing this as a 2-1 protection from white creature that maybe has some upside if these games go very long. Otherwise, I am playing a little bit more artifact hate than I might normally need to. I've been seeing Painter on the rise quite a bit, and this is a deck that I just want to be prepared for. So do I really need 5 anti-artifact cards in my graveyard? No, 4 is probably enough, but I just want to err on the side of caution there. Otherwise, we have some extra stuff like Carpet of Flowers to pad our Delver matchup, and then some traditional anti-combo hate cards, so we can fill some of the slots like Fatal Push and Sudden Edict that just aren't going to be good versus combo in the post-sideboard games. With that being said, I think we're going to go ahead and just jump into the games here and see how this deck list feels. If you're new here, please consider subscribing if you like what you see today, and if you're regular, throw me a like before this video begins. It's the easiest way to support my content for free. Let's battle. All right, round 1 opening hand seems reasonable here. I can get a Bayou off Polluted Delta and then start doing Life from the Loam things, kind of while holding up Fatal Push in the initial turns. Got very good options here versus Fair Stuff, and a card for an unfair deck, although turn 3 would probably be too slow in terms of interaction if our opponent is playing some sort of combo deck. Notably, the Assassin's Trophy and the Abrupt Decay here are not necessarily turn 2 plays, because I do have a snow-covered island in this hand. Arma Burn. Are you going to throw down a mountain and huck a Chain Lightning at me? Not exactly. That is probably a Dryad Arbor, which is going to get Fatal Pushed immediately. Grove of the Burn Willows is not a particularly popular legacy card right now. So we're gonna have to figure out like why my opponent wants to be playing that. I don't think I can pass this up. I think this is just too juicy here. It's very awkward if my opponent wastelands me back though. Alright, did not get wastelanded back. So now we will begin Life from the Loam nonsense, and I think I am very much interested in doing that immediately, rather than playing out the Baleful Strix. My clock doesn't matter nearly as much as like making future land drops does. My opponent has fetch lands, which means they're not like a weird Blood Sun build. So let's try to gather some more information. This may be some sort of like Minsk and Boo pile. Maybe something in the Maverick ballpark. Rubland Wasteland. Okay, getting that Life from the Loam off was very important then. And a Dark Confidant. Understood. I am not super interested in dredging right now, I don't think. Sylvan Library is cool. My basic island is awkward here, because I want to wasteland my opponent and take out Dark Confidant. But that's not in the cards right now. I think I just want to kill Dark Confidant before my opponent takes any cards off of it. I need a secondary green source here. I think I just want a second Bayou. And we'll begin with Decay. I don't want to give my opponent the basic land that Assassin's Trophy would give them. Seiju is totally fine. Grist is okay. I can Assassin's Trophy that. But that sort of means that the whole Wasteland mana denial portion of the deck gets a little bit worse. I think that's probably going to be fine. This turn cycle is probably both Assassin's Trophy and Baleful Strix. I can Assassin's Trophy and Wasteland. I guess I should play my Strix first, on the off chance that what I want to do changes. Alright. Blue-black for Strix. I don't want Life from the Loam. I don't want that land either. But then we'll go ahead and take out the Grist. An opponent has a basic forest. So we're probably not going to try to like Life from the Loam, wasteland them, lock them into oblivion. Like, I am probably going to try to play out both of these cards next turn if I can. My opponent's not really incentivized to attack my mana right now. Okay, yeah. Insects chilling. Have to keep in mind that some weird things can potentially happen here. Like Primeval Titan levels of weird, but Primeval Titan alongside Dark Confidant is maybe not the best. So let's go blue, black, green for Leovold. My opponent wants to wasteland me. This is their opportunity. Okay, something is happening. Okay, there is red. Punishing Fire is fine. I guess I could have taken an attack first. Seems a little weird for my opponent to not just like Punishing Fire that on their turn and get the 1 damage in with the insect token, but if they have a second thing to do for 3 mana, such as an opposition agent, like, it'll make sense. Sudden Edict. Sure. I will still get a card out of that. Not interested in Life from the Loam. That's sort of like a Life from the Loam. Okay. I'll sacrifice this. This is sort of an unusual time to wasteland me. But that is what it is. I'm going to have some powerful options here. Dark Confidant is totally fine. I'll take 1 from this insect. I'll be at 17. My life total is very healthy. I'm just looking for something to get rid of this Dark Confidant here. Will not be dredging here. I put back Force of Will. I'll just put back Underground Sea as well. I can pay life for cards later. So I'm going to go ahead and just immediately fetch here. Clear those cards, get some new looks. Get an Underground Sea for variety. Cast a Brainstorm. Again, not super interested in the Life from the Loam. This is many lands here. I'm probably going to put 2 of these lands on top and then like dredge Life from the Loam. Awkward. I didn't find an answer to Dark Confidant. Let's go blue-black, play a Baleful Strix, We'll dredge Life from the Loam to just throw those lands into my graveyard here. And let's loam back 1, 2, 3 lands. Still plenty of fuel in there for the purposes of an Uro. And then we'll just hope that this Dark Confidant doesn't find something really scary like a Minsk and Boo this turn. Land drop's totally fine. Fetch is scarier. Fetch represents that they have something to do with 5 mana. That can be like Titania or a Green Sun for X is 4 or something. Yeah, ending is fine. Do I want to block this insect token? I don't really mind just blocking with it. Otherwise, it is going to continue to chip at me. Like, I have so many cards that either deal with a Dark Confidant or are just, like, better than what's going on here. There's a punish for that decision. Not interested in Life from the Loam. That's a little frustrating, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I have drawn so many bricks here. My opponent has Life from the Loam as well, so they have access to Dryad Arbors and Urza Sagas and stuff. Probably just have to cast this Force of Will just as sort of a stopgap. I just need to stop something from happening here. Just 11 damage. Like, admittedly, this can only attack because I took that block last turn, but, you know, draws have not been kind here. So that's Grove, Urza Saga, one other land. I am just going to fire this off. I am not happy about this, but I just can't let an Urza Saga start ticking up right now. Like, that is going to eat my land drop for turn. The Punishing Fire is super relevant with how low my life total is. And there's unfortunately a follow-up threat. A Scavenging Ooze. Yeah, that's real good. No Life from the Loam. Oh my god. Why? Why? Okay. My deck just said no. A pro-white creature is reasonable here for things versus, like, Knight of the Reliquary. Plague Engineer is not overly exciting, but is probably reasonable. I can play, like, a Seeds of Innocence or something for, like, Urza Saga tokens. I maybe don't want more than one. Press Down is good for Urza Saga tokens. Yeah, I really just needed to hit one of these 6 cards, or one of these redraws for them, or one of these redraws for them, or even, honestly, an Endurance would have been an okay stopgap there. My opponent just has, like, main deck blasts. That probably means my Force of Wills are not particularly potent. I think I'm just going to kind of morph into fair mode here. Okay, so with this hand, I have to use Ponder to hit my next land drop. I mean, Wasteland is technically a land drop. I could hit Ponder on turn 2. It's just, like, very bad if I get Wastelanded. I think the hand's going to be a keep. Most of the cards that I really need to Thoughtseize can still be Thoughtseized on turn 2. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just Ponder, make sure that I can hit some land drops. Beautiful. I think Brainstorm is the least exciting of these, believe it or not. I'm going to go ahead and just take the 2 lands here. And I'm happy enough drawing the Brainstorm if I get down to it, but I don't need to. So I think my opponent has Wasteland. They have a reasonable pause here, and I don't imagine they have too many turn 1 plays. Or it could be they were deciding what to discard to Mox Diamond. A Boseiju, that's fine. So I think this just starts on Thoughtseize, and we see what's up over there. If we see a Life from the Loam, for example, it very much changes the value of this Wasteland. Ob Nixilis, the adversary. Okay. It is technically a Planeswalker, so that thing probably needs to go. So let's take that out, and I will go ahead and just attack my opponent's mana here. And then I can start trading, like, Pyroblast for Baleful Strix and stuff, and do cool Sylvan Library things. Alright, there's the Barbarian Ring. Probably means that my opponent didn't draw another land. I think I'm just going to drop Library this turn, rather than play a Strix into Pyroblast and just, like, give that to my opponent easily. Like, this is probably a Trop. got 4 cards already in graveyard for Uro purposes. And I've got, you know, relatively perfect information to work with. Pretty happy with what's going on here. Ooh. I've got like Abrupt Decays and stuff that I can use to fight against that. Uro is cool. These cards aren't bad. I'm not super excited about Plague Engineer. I'm probably going to not pay life for that one. I'll pay life for the land, though. Let's shuffle away that Plague Engineer. Head and fetch. Get a Bayou for variety. If my opponent wants to trade with an Uro for that Pyroblast, that's okay with me. If I get to make a land drop, that is also okay with me. Is 5 cards in graveyard for the purposes of escape. And next turn, I also just have double Baleful Strix available to me as a thing that I can do. All right, we are going to trade for the Pyroblast here. This is fine. So now the plan becomes play out a couple copies of Baleful Strix so that I can play around Sudden Edict. And then we'll ride an Uro to victory a little bit later. My opponent's taking both hits from Sylvan Library, which is like very relevant when they also have Barbarian Ring. Beyond colors, Plague Engineer is fine. They know about Bird. Know about Bird. That has made my hand very awkward. See if we can fix that. That is a whole bunch of lands that I'm going to have to brainstorm through. This can go to my face, this can go to my face, so I'm effectively at 8 life right now. That was rough. Might just be playing Uro here. I'm gonna pay 4 life. Bayou, put back an Underground Sea, and go ahead and brainstorm and try to make this a little better here. This can backfire, but it's just so good for me if I can like remove this, like a Fatal Push or something. So much land. All right. I guess I'll fire off another brainstorm here anyway. Still so much land. The Ponder's nice though. Put back 2 lands. I guess I don't have a reason to do Assassin's Trophy right now. Fetching is fine. Bayou's not scary. The Sylvan Library is scary, but I'm not in a position where I can Assassin's Trophy that right now. Wow, opponent is going 1 card deeper. Alright, I'll kill Plague Engineer in combat here. I guess if there's more copies of the Ob Nixilis thing over there, I should have considered just killing that on my turn. Oh, my opponent has 1 basic forest. That's not overly surprising, but that's good to know about. And that's a pain, because I just got, like, used a card that could have solved that problem. Life from the Loam. Life from the Loam Urza Saga is kind of a scary long-term problem. Let's see what we can do on my turn here. So many lands. Put 2 of those back. My plan just like power through, play like a bunch of Baleful Strix. I can shuffle first with this Ponder. That's probably okay. Oh, that's awkward. I need to keep that. Okay. So, no shuffle. Blue, blue, green, green. Play Bayou. Play Uro. Doesn't really matter what I send out here. I just want to keep my lands in there. Done. Uro will let me make an extra land drop so that I can do wasteland nonsense. Oh, it's Swords of Plowshares, not the Sudden Edict that I was expecting. Is acceptable. Put a wasteland onto the battlefield. This is a temporary solution. But I'm back up to 17 life with my Sylvan Library. My opponent is still at 5 life. So my hope here is that between Baleful Strix, X2, and Sylvan Library that I can just kind of bury my opponent here. But I do technically have to deal with Urza Saga every turn. It's something that I can do, but it's not really something that I want to do, you know? Sure. So that's no more cards off Sylvan Library. Just full stop. We'll see what my opponent can do here. All right. Loam. Loam on Boseiju is good. That gets rid of Sylvan Library. And I think I'm going to start F6ing my opponent's turn. This actually clears my Sylvan library if I didn't clear it before, or at the top of my library, which is good. And Life from the Loam is my draw. I might end up playing that. We'll see where this goes. Start on a Strix. Draw a card. Lol. Love that. Maybe go blue, black, draw a new card. Plague Engineer is not the best. Just playing at Sylvan Library immediately. I'll just drop the Sylvan Library immediately. Just continue to make land drops here. Alright, cool. My opponent is at 3, and I do have 2 1/1s in play. However, I know my opponent has access to Punishing Fire, Sudden Edict, and also Boast Seiju off Life from the Loam. You know, I don't really feel like I've done anything this game, but my opponent sure is almost dead. Yeah, Punishing Fire, one of those. My opponent doesn't have the Grove yet. Barbarian Ring is also a thing that they have. Okay. Sudden Edict has occurred. Bojuka Bog. It's comic timing considering my Wasteland, but probably not actually a problem. Seeds of Innocence, not great on this current board. Assassin's Trophy, that Sylvan Library. Not super interested in Thoughtseize. I'm going to put that back. I think I'm going to pay life for Seeds of Innocence, though, just in case some Urza Saga nonsense happens that I can't really deal with. So I know this is just going to destroy that card. Bam. And that's the only basic land in the deck. I'm going to go ahead and cast a Plague Engineer. These are Devils. I'll just put that on Devil. And I'm actually going to cast a Life from the Loam with no targets to see if I can bait my opponent into Bojuka bogging me rather than doing something cool with an Urza Saga. That may be a waste of a card. I would not mind dredging the crap off the top of my library. Yep. Again, this is all good. Did not bait the Bojuka Bog. And a Knight of the Reliquary. I am going to go ahead and dredge this. Yeah, that's a bunch of junk off the top of my library here. Endurance and Baleful Strix. Yes. And oh, fuck. Good, I can still undo that. Yes, pay 4 life. Pay 4 life. Those cards are good. I go ahead and play a Baleful Strix. Draw a card. I'm going to cast an Endurance now. That will get rid of like Punishing Fire and all this other nonsense before Knight of the Reliquary can get involved. So send all that stuff out. I'll make a land drop. I don't have a reason to play Life from the Loam here to just like return this. I'd rather save this fetch land for use with Sylvan Library. But, like there are some problems here. Ooh, another Sylvan Library is not great. My opponent, however, is at 3. I have an Evasive Flyer. I don't know whether or not they have Shadow Spear. I also don't know exactly what utility lands they're going to have access to. I guess by similar logic, I am at 9. I also need to be aware of my life total. Brainstorm's a great pickup. Jace is an okay pickup. Drop can go back. I think I can just take this damage. Let's try to smooth this out a little bit and probably get rid of my Life from the Loam unless I draw a Wasteland. Yeah, these cards are good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have enough lands already. Life from the Loam can go back. Tropical Island can go back. So, I'm going to start here. Go to 4. Up another land. 1, 2, 3, 4. Play Jace. Attempt a bounce on Knight of the Reliquary, which represents theoretical lethal damage this turn, unless this Urza Saga thing gets involved. My opponent could have something to say about that. Okay, that's good enough for the win. So that was about to go to their hand, and then I could kick Turok to get rid of this card and this, and force a chump block via the Urza Saga token. I'm a little bit behind on time here, so I'm going to have to keep an eye on that in this next game. Now that it's pretty clear that I'm not playing Force of Will, I can F6 more of my opponent's turns and just kind of respect that. Yeah, this feels pretty reasonable. I could play the Force of Negation to have an answer to an opposing Life from the Loam, but I guess I already have 2 copies of Endurance. This hand is going to be a mulligan. I can't cast this Baleful Strix. I have no regular cantrips in hand, and I'm easily wastelanded off of my colors. That's no good. This is a dubious hand that I will probably end up keeping. I don't think I want to go to 5 here, given how grindy this game is probably going to be. The individual cards matter a lot. I just have to hope that my brainstorm gets me to where I need to go. And now it's a question of, do I want to do the end of turn brainstorm because it's so important for me to play either Sylvan Library or Baleful Strix next turn, or do I just want to get one card deeper before I brainstorm? Because if I brainstorm and miss, I just lose. I think a lot of that depends on how threatening my opponent's play is here. My opponent plays a must-answer card, such as a Dark Confidant. I will probably just brainstorm end of turn so that I can attempt to sudden edict next turn. But if it's not a scary card, I'm going to wait on the brainstorm. Second land drop, what are we looking at? I'm going to wait. Never, didn't have it. I'm fetching, I'm getting a Bayou. And I think, actually because of Prismatic Ending, I'm probably supposed to just play this one here. Just take a redraw this turn. Endurance is fine, but not overly exciting. Like, if my opponent has Prismatic Ending, I would much rather have them not use it immediately on my Sylvan Library. This is also something that, like, pressures their life total, at least in theory. If they play a 3-mana card, I will just sudden edict that. And Plague Engineer is rough. One bird. Especially rough when I have the second bird here. Fire off a Brainstorm, try to hit a land drop. Speed in hitting a land drop. I'm not going to spend a lot of time thinking about what to put back here. I'm just going to redraw all of this stuff next turn. I'm going to play... maybe I should actually just play Sudden Edict. Clear the board. Let's just clear the board. Let's not take damage here, then play Grist next turn. I've got a 3-minute deficit in this match. And it is a match that, like, very, very reasonably could go long. So I need to respect that. Opponent is absolutely willing to just butcher their life total. We'll see whether or not that ends up being correct. Yeah, play Dark Confidant and let me just Plague Engineer that away. Alice is fine. A little surprised that's still in against me. Losing access to the green mana is not great here. Has to be a Baleful Strix. Opponent is at 7. Have some dead cards in the short term here. Wow. Like, opponent already has a lot of cards in hand. I don't think they need to be going this hard with Sylvan Library. Now, admittedly, I'm not looking at their hand to see what they have over there. And, you know, maybe those cards are going to let them very specifically do something like a Minsk and Boo this turn. Ooh, that's very bad for me. Oh, Grist is quite good. I can't pressure that properly. Like, I can poke it. Okay. This gets me a Sylvan Library into play, which is nice. So this is just Bayou again. Think. Yeah, I don't think the basic is viable here. Let's drop Sylvan Library. I am just going to poke my opponent's life total, because I'm trying to just get them in the range where attacks from some of my meager creatures can kill them. My hope is actually that they use a removal spell on Baleful Strix plus make another creature with Grist, and then I play Plague Engineer, kill their insects. I've caught up a bit in terms of clock here. I guess in theory I should not be F6'd right now because of how bad Life from the Loam getting back both of those wastelands is. Okay. There's another potential Plague Engineer name. Human. I'll take a little bit of damage, that's fine. Like, my life total is not the problem. The board is. My opponent will go ahead and just kill my Strix. I need to hit a land drop off this Sylvan Library, and I think I'm in very good shape if I do. Always yes, always yield to that. Save myself some time. Fuck. I'm gonna draw through those. Ow. That's pretty brutal. I needed that this turn so that I can kill that Dark Confidant. With the Chalice in play, I have no real plays here. Guard a Thoughtseize. And let's see if my opponent dies to their Dark Confidant. They do not. I believe last turn they were supposed to sacrifice their Dark Confidant to Grist so that they didn't potentially kill themselves and then just attack with the insect instead. But they did not see that line, and I am thankful for it. Caught up about 2 minutes on clock, by the way. I'm going to take 2 here. Brings me to 7. Lands are great. All right, I just need to draw a land here. Okay. We'll put back an Uro. I will put back an Uro. I will play a Trop. I will pass the turn. I'm actually just going to see if my opponent dies to their own Dark Confidant here, and then go for an end of turn Endurance. Nope. Sylvan Library, I guess, helps out with that, but only so much, I guess. That Wasteland's actually really annoying. It disrupts my plan in terms of timing by quite a bit. Because now I do this, my opponent can just sack the Dark Confidant to Grist. All right, nuke your stuff. And I know I have 2 Uros on top. They're waiting to pay for something. Sudden Edict is fine. All right, things are clear. I take 2, I go to 5, and Grist activates. Be on a 2-turn clock, but Plague Engineer and the Uros on top of my library will help out with that a ton. My opponent did not activate their Grist. This is unfortunate. I don't have the appropriate colors. I will put back one of these. Put back one of these, I guess. Pass the turn, see if my opponent's Sylvan Library kills them. It didn't potentially activate Grist because of Sylvan Library. Alright, that is a green sun. They're not dead, but it's not good for them. I'm now officially ahead on clock. Brings me to 3. So if they play a green sun, the top maddening hex. Okay. Understood. Is this any spell or non-creature? Non-creature. So I can cast a creature this turn. We'll go ahead and put back some cards. And I just have to pass the turn here. And we see who dies. I'll discard a Thoughtseize. The top card of their library is completely random. And it is a 0 cost. So this is pretty tight. I'm not technically dead here. But a lot of things kill me. That is one of them. That's pretty unfortunate. I think my opponent could have navigated that game better. But they didn't have to. Yeah, I think they can just like play that in a way that doesn't result in them playing the green sun, so that there's no chance they die to their own Dark Confidant. But it worked. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and I host all of my deck lists here. And one of the things that I want to show you is there's more than one way to view your decks on Moxfield. So normally deck lists are sorted by like what type the card is, but you can use tags on Moxfield. So if you're trying to group parts of your deck into conceptual categories so that you can really figure out how many of each effect you have and balance your deck list, this is one of the best places to do that. All right, round 2, opening hand's a keep. My opponent has mulligan once. Let's see if we can punch a hole in whatever's left. We can... Awkward. I think I need to take the early play, despite the fact that Seasoned Dungeoneer is just objectively more of a pain in the ass for me than White Plume Adventurer is. The good news here is that unless my opponent drew like a Mox or a Lotus Petal, we're not looking at a turn 1 or even turn 2 initiative creature most of the time. Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That Force of Will is very good here. I think I am just going to go ahead and floop a creature into play immediately here. Off Tropical Island. And this way, if something goes wrong, I can either attempt to take the initiative or at least force Solitude or Touch the Spirit Realm to be used on a 1/1, which I would be totally fine with. And on my next turn, I can start looking for, ooh, yeah, that imprints Thalia, which was one of their recent draws. And I just can't let that happen. Let's force that. I think I actually pitch Brainstorm over Ponders here, because I'm kind of looking for specific cards, and Ponder will help me accomplish that better. Life from the Loam. That's not bad if I find a Wasteland. Start on a Ponder here. Burrow's not crazy. I really just want to find Wasteland, like Wasteland, probably this land, then Wasteland this the following turn. And I can Ponder again looking for it. I'm going to go ahead and any order this and shuffle. Yes? I think yes. Keep going for that. I'm going to high roll here. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle again. Fuck yes. Absolutely fuck yes. Wasteland. Wasteland target city. I technically should have attacked before all of this to see if my opponent wants to do the whole pitch cast thing. But this gives me a very realistic way to beat my opponent. Just Life from the Loam back Wasteland, take this out. Yes, this is fine with me. I'm very happy with this. The Loam gets back Wasteland Misty. This is not necessarily the typical sort of game with this deck here, but it's working pretty well as of right now. I might even just dredge Life from the Loam in an attempt to find an Uro and just play Uro from graveyard, trying to force Solitude. Maybe next turn. Dress down. That's real good. I will go ahead and just Sorcery Speed Brainstorm, though. Let's say no to both. Alright, so I'll put back land. I don't really need this many fetch lands. Put back land, and go ahead and just preemptively fetch here. Tropical Islands for Uro purposes are pretty good right now. And I think I can just jam Library this turn. My opponent doesn't have very many unknown cards, so I'm not super in danger. Like, the 2 unknown cards have to be exactly Soul Land plus White Plume Adventurer for me to get punished for this line. I think I'm fine with it. I am going to dredge Life from the Loam here with one of these. These are perfectly reasonable cards. I think I'll just not pay. I can pay 1 here. Put back Fatal Push. Pay the life for Brainstorm. Lay a land. In case I find like a Thoughtseize effect, I do think I cast this now. Oh, Grist. That is mighty interesting. Put back Brainstorm. Oh no, I'm not going to mill these. Have I played a land? Okay, I haven't played a land, so I can put back like Brainstorm, Life. Oh shit, I was looking up here, not down here. I guess since I messed that up, I am just waiting a turn. I do want to keep that Life from the Loam, and I want to hold up Dress down right now. That's an error on my end. All right, now we'll do Sylvan Library stuff here. Oh, there's Uro. That's fantastic. Pay 4 life for that, and I think I am now not needing this Brainstorm. Go ahead and send that back. Play a land drop. Play an Uro. Go ahead and just fetch in response. We'll buy you for something different. Could have considered Dress Downing for my own Uro here. Doesn't feel super necessary. I'll just play it next turn. I don't need to rush for the Uro because I know my opponent has Solitude. So we draw for Library. Reasonable cards. Go ahead and just put some of this stuff back on top. Go ahead and clear my opponent's hand here. Blue, blue, green, green. Oh, that's so many cards. That's so many cards that answer in Uro. Opponent's holding back for if they draw an initiative creature. I will take a Swords to Plowshares, I think. Not forcing this Uro through. Maybe I can just do this. Let's just get better at answering creatures. Really hoping to punch a hole by taking that Solitude. Oh, wow. Solitude pitching Solitude. Taking out an insect token. Oh, they're going to go for Touch the Spirit Realm. Sure. That's fine. That does give them a new creature, but like now City of Traders is their one unknown card. I now have an Uro that I actually get to be playing with. Plus, like, Strix is going to do work as well. Not too worried here. Sure. Well, that was not the ideal scenario. That was, in fact, like the most punishing possible scenario for me dropping Dress down. I still don't know that it's actually a problem, though. Another Fatal Push. I'll keep it, I guess. Okay, Library. And an Uro. Get those out of the way. Cast Life from the Loam. Return 2 lands. Fetch. Play Uro, put in new land, Fatal Push, White Plume Adventurer. Seems like the line. 1, 2, 3. Life from the Loam. Play land. Fetch. Green, green, blue, blue. Mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Done. Don't need to dredge Life from the Loam here. Put in a land card. I can wait to see if they forge White Plume Adventurer. I guess there's one unknown card. I shouldn't mess around with that in case it's exactly Touch the Spirit Realm. It's like really good for me though if they forge this up. Nice. Go ahead and fetch. Get a black source. And nuke White Plume Adventurer from orbit. Greed is rewarded. Alright, and that's good enough for the win. I don't know to what extent I should have taken the risks that I did versus just continuing to play the game safely. Once I saw that my opponent had a City of Traders tucked away and like I know that my Wasteland plan isn't going to be as good, I wanted to get a real threat into play. But I probably could have played that one safer. So my Turoks are reasonable. My Plague Engineer can kill some number of X1s. I don't think I'm going to mess around with any of this stuff. I just have enough, like, decays, assassin trophies, sort of things in the main deck that I don't super need to worry about that. My cards seem reasonable, but unexciting. Thoughtseize on the draw feels a little slow. I'm going to go down 2 of those for 2 Turoks. And I'm probably going to drop Leovold because of Karakas. We'll see how this feels. My Force of Wills are either awesome or awful, with very little in between. My opponent's on a 7-card hand. Do I want to mulligan towards a Force of Will specifically, or do I want to say Thoughtseize is good enough? My opponent plays a turn 1 Chalice, shutting off both Ponder and Thoughtseize. My hand is terrible. If my opponent plays a turn 1 Initiative creature, my hand is terrible. Accordingly, I think I'm going to mulligan once, fishing a little bit. This is fine, but the lack of black sources here does make this awkward. It probably means that Turok has to be the card that I throw back. And we will be very bad versus Cavernous Souls with this hand. We'll see how it goes. Archon under there. Fuck. That's on Cleric. So that is a uncounterable White Plume happening. Which I'm probably just dead to, honestly. My opponent can get their basic. And then, like, my Wasteland isn't good anymore. None of the cards in my hand are really good anymore. That Ponder is the best thing that I have going for me. Fatal Push is not reasonable without black mana. And it's very awkward because this is black mana. But Fatal Push won't be on to kill that. I could keep Underground Sea, play Baleful Strix, and try to do something with that. I think I'm better off looking for Abrupt Decay in 2 draws to actually take this out. I can just play Strix next turn and hope my opponent doesn't have a follow-up. That might be my line. It is not exciting. But the Strix that I have as a removal spell, air quotes, for White Plume, might be what I'm working with. Ooh, opponent is going down the right side rather than forging this up. See how that plays out for them. Rhinosphere. I think I have to say no to that. It's not particularly a strong card here, but I need this Baleful Strix in play to have a realistic shot of taking the initiative back. And I hate that I can't do something stronger here. This is the only way that I can attempt to take the initiative back next turn. So I can attempt to take the initiative, wasteland my opponent's Cavernous Souls, Fatal Push their White Plume Adventurer, and just hope to dodge something scary this turn. I am not willing to trade, as I do want to attempt to take the initiative on my turn. And if we get lucky here, Solitude can just happen. It's possible that I'm supposed to ponder prior to making this move here. The Ganjo. Alright. My counterspell does not save me. The Fatal Push is now live. Ponder and see what else I can do. Burrow doesn't really sound good right now. I'm under so much pressure from Throne of the Dead 3, even though it doesn't necessarily look like it. No, touch the Spirit Realm, please. Nice. I believe that I just have to cantrip again rather than attack this land. Because yuck. Basically, yuck is where I'm at. My opponent gets Catacombs, and I'm not really in a good position. This helps, I guess. I will take these cards. But, like, my opponent gets this skeleton, and while I can play 2 creatures next turn, I can't actually stop Throne of the Dead 3. This is Baleful Strix, draw a card, get a black land, fetch a black land. It'll be a Bayou. Play this as just a regular old pro-white creature. And now we just see how bad this Throne of the Dead 3 is for me. Not great. Not great is the answer. They're going with the Seasoned Dungeoneer, which is a giant hexproof creature. I think that's probably what I would go for as well, though taking Palace Jailer is also tempting. But I think the one that's hard to block in combat is looking real hot as of right now. Okay. Raid, Baleful Strix, attack with Turok, become the Monarch, question mark, question mark, question mark, profit, try to do something from there. I'm taking a real beating. Oh, fuck, Menace. No blockers, then. Yeah, I don't know what I'm playing towards here. Anthalia. Plague Engineer. Plague Engineer on human. Take 6 or 7 damage. Guess I'm still technically alive. But life is bad. Attack with Turok. The Monarch. I get to shuffle those bad cards off the top of my deck. Green, 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 blue. I'll take the island. Yeah, but I have to double block the skeleton, this token, to kill it, and Seasoned Dungeoneer probably keeps me from fetching most of the time. And without fetching, I'm not on too many outs to Seasoned Dungeoneer, because that would be my primary way to trigger Revolt for Fatal Push. Do I want, like, Assassin's Trophy here? Ugh. Oh, they just have Touch the Spirit Realm. Yeah, so I just get trapped immediately and die. Alright. We'll try again when I'm on the play. When I'm on the play, the Thoughtseizes become so much more reasonable. I go down 1 Uro here, and maybe down 1 Force of Will here, since I'm bringing back Thoughtseizes to compensate. That is a no-lander. This is an awkward hand that I am probably forced to keep. It has a piece of early interaction and 1, 2, 3 pieces of follow-up interaction, depending on how the next couple of turns go. This just has to be Bayou for how this hand is going to work out. My opponent is on 6, so hopefully I take their 1 good card in hand. With Seasoned Dungeoneer gone, the rest of their hand really does nothing. Now they can top deck a reasonable threat here, and this this is not great for me. All right, do I want to Wasteland? Given how bad the rest of my hand is, I believe the answer is yes, although I would prefer to use this on Cavern of Souls. Wastelanding is a little awkward because like that's a way to enable Revolt. All right, my opponent's going with Human here. And we're chilling. I don't think I am going to Abrupt Decay a Lotus Petal here. Especially since I just like know that they have more mana. Mana is not going to be the bottleneck here. Other resources are. Okay. No initiative creature yet, so we are successfully dodging, at least for now. 3 cards in graveyard, 4 cards in graveyard for Uro purposes. I think it's more important to put Baleful Strix into play here than it is to do the front half of Uro. Okay, nice. So now I have something that can take the initiative back, and then I have ways to answer the initiative creatures afterwards. But we are definitely getting a bit rewarded for my opponent keeping a hand that was all in on 1 card. That is a White Plume Adventurer. Go ahead and fetch here. Underground Sea is fine. Go ahead and let that resolve. Before my opponent has more mana, I will go ahead and just Fatal Push that creature so that they don't have Touch the Spirit Realm up. Although admittedly, like, I know their hand. The basic planes. My opponent is now going to Chrome Mox. They'll imprint their Ameria's Call, leaving them with this, which can only be used on target attacking or blocking creature. Attacking or blocking creature. So I can go play Tropical Island, play Uro, get an extra land drop, play Delta, and do cool things. So 1, 2, 3. Uro. Gain my life. Put in, let's just do the Delta. Or no, Underground Sea is fine. Put in this. Sacrifice this. Abrupt Decay Chrome Mox. To take my opponent off of the 3 mana required to do this. So now I get to successfully take the initiative from my opponent. Use it to get another land. And now I have the initiative, and I'm going to have Uro as well. All right, my opponent takes the initiative right back. So we're going to play this game where we trade it back and forth. And hopefully I can find an answer to Seasoned Dungeoneer. That's bottom with their cards, which I love to see. I will crash in with Baleful Strix. Take the initiative back. I will be scrying myself. Lost Well. Misty goes on bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4 for Uro. 1, 2 for Sylvan Library. I would categorize that as an above average draw. All right, land drop. 1, 2, 3, 4. Junk the cards from graveyard for Uro. Gain my life. Put in an extra land drop. Drop in a Sylvan Library. So while we can keep trading the initiative back and forth, I currently do have the better clock and better card draw options. I think this is favoring me. Opponent draws an extra card there. Protection from creatures is a hell of a drug. Now they get an extra mana, but mana is not necessarily the biggest thing that I'm worried about here. There's the Tomb. My life total is also high enough, especially with Uro, that Solitude? 6 mana? Walking Ballista. Sure. That's a pretty reasonable draw. Oh, that's very good. Yeah, Thoughtseize. Go back. I know what my opponent's card is. Pay the life for the other one of these. Okay. So I do want to go ahead and Fatal Push Walking Ballista. As awkward as that is, I want to make sure that I take the initiative back in every turn cycle. Yep. And I'll take 2. Dropping to 13. I'll fetch away the bad card from the top of my library, picking up black sources. Will be 6 while I gain 3 life. Puts my opponent to 10. I take the initiative. I'll go to stash. Go ahead and play a... I'm going to fetch first, actually. I don't want to draw that land. Bayou. blue, black, draw a card. I don't even think I want to play that this turn. I just want to kick this. That takes out this Aganjo that I know about, leaving me with an extra card here. And this is theoretically lethal. It is no longer lethal because of Caracas. I guess I could brainstorm now and see if I draw exactly Fatal Push. I did not. Backdrop and brainstorm. My opponent takes the initiative. They get a skeleton, and we can play this whole back and forth game now of resources. Oh, Plague Engineer is very cool. Put back brainstorm and drop. Play Wasteland. Wasteland Caracas. Yeah, that's fine. Play Plague Engineer. The skeleton. It's just a skeleton. Name skeleton. Go to combat. Bash in for 4. Put my opponent to 6. I will get my own skeleton. Replay an Uro. Put a land into play. Green, green, blue, blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Replay Uro. Gain the life. Call it a turn. And while my opponent can attack in Throne of the Dead 3 here, I think I've got very much more than lethal next turn. Alright, so my opponent's going to go ahead and attack first. And they pick up an Amaria's Call, or rather they don't. I will go to 13. They are at 6. Palace Jailer's interesting. Solitude's interesting. I assume it's Solitude on Uro. I've got 4. I just have lethal damage through that. 3, 4, 8. Although I think my opponent's other card is a creature. So I will have to brainstorm and hit something relevant to kill my opponent next turn. Yeah, okay, it is the White Plume Adventurer that I thought they had. That untaps that. Thoughtseize is no good. Put back Thoughtseize. Put back the land. Play Uro. Put that land into play. Fetch away the card that I don't want. Play Brainstorm. Assassin's Trophy is very good. Put back 1 and 2. Oh, this is hexproof currently. That's not the best. I just don't have to kill my opponent this turn, I guess. I can just use that to kill Solitude on their turn. So this is evasive. This is evasive. Send in with those. I will venture. I will Throne of the Dead 3. I'll honestly just take the Baleful Strix here. Draw the extra card. 4 cards in graveyard. Ponder. Don't really have time to ponder again. I'll call that good. Upkeep. I'll Assassin's Trophy the Solitude. Could have tapped that better. Trying to save individual seconds at this point. All that matters is taking one more attack on my opponent here. Seasoned Dungeoneer can come on in. Trinosphere is not going to do what they want. And then I'm just more than good on my attack back. You can make that creature bigger. I'll put back this. Put back that. Go to combat. Send in with everything. Opponent's at 2. We should be more than good. I technically should play the Jace pre-combat, but I'm crunching it enough on time here that I'm not going to do that. Okay, I should have spent less time narrating my plays and more time actually focusing on the game, but we got there. GG's. Okay, my opening hand here has 1 land. That's not really going to do it. This is a reasonable opening hand that the Force of Will goes back with. And we hope that if my opponent is playing some sort of very fast deck, that Thoughtseize can punch a hole in what they're doing. A fast shuffle. Fatal Push. I wonder if I'm supposed to get basics here. Getting basics can be a little awkward. I think for this first turn, though, I am just going to grab 1. I don't know that I can continue this trend, but not getting wastelanded in the first turn cycle seems kind of like a huge deal. Okay. So opponents got redundancy. Have an Assassin's Trophy. That helps. Not great at fighting this. I'm going to take the Force of Will. They've got two sides of, like, this portion of the combo. So if I take one of those, while I can slow them down, it doesn't actually stop them. And I think I just kind of need to play this in a way where if I do find counter spells, I can successfully use them. Leovold's not bad. I think I am going to be just jamming Sylvan Library here and hoping that I can get another turn to find Force of Will or Thoughtseize, or that my opponent plays a sneak attack and pass the turn route. Okay. It's happening. This is going to get me my Leovold. Okay. Oh, man. Assassin's Trophy is going to be clutch here. Jace is probably not what I'm looking for. Neither is Fatal Push. Let's put that back. I might just keep this just physically as another card here. So let's get in for my 3 points of damage. My opponent had a creature. It already would have happened, and I already kind of know some of the stuff in their hand anyway. So then let's trophy this sneak attack. Convert it into a land, call it a turn. And, like, my hand needs some love still. Ooh, be clear. Let's fetch probably another Trop. I have, like, Uro numbers to be thinking about here. And that's going to matter a lot since I have a swamp in play already. All right. This is probably one of the reasons I was so slow last round, is I didn't just do this. Yeah, these cards are great. I will take them. Let's swing for my 3 while I figure out which one of these lines I want to take. Jace is very reasonable here. I think I'm just going to wasteland my opponent, though, and take 1 redraw. I don't really want a Misty. Also just speeds up my clock a touch. Kind of hoping to dodge creatures, so, like, Jace makes that better. But this game is about attacking. Oh, wow. My opponent conceded there. I don't think I would have conceded in that spot. Like, their situation's bad, but they're only taking 4 a turn. All right, how am I going to fight this here? Barak is slow, but reasonable. Force of Negation is good. Force of Vigor is sketchy. Carpet is okay. Fluster is fine. I don't think I'm interested in Surgical. I am not interested in Fatal Push. I'm not interested in Dress Down. Not interested in Abrupt Decay. Tapping out for Jace is scary. Similarly, tapping out for Grist is not super necessary. But it is something that, like, kills a Show and Tell Emrakul, I guess. So maybe that's fine. Probably doesn't need to be a Life from the Loam matchup. How are we doing in terms of these? Barak just gets me 2 generic creatures. Endurance could come out for those. Endurance is kind of nice because, like, I can hold up Force of Negation, Force of Will type stuff, but I don't know that it's necessary. And then I'm not going to play the Force of Vigors. I've got a couple answers to a Show and or Sneak Attack that gets into play already. And this hand seems like a pretty easy keep. Most interesting thing here is, like, on what turn I play this Thoughtseize, because the answer might not be 1. Oh, fuck. We're going now. Okay. Do I put in Strix for if it's Grizzlebrand, or do I put in a land drop? I think I just put in the Strix. Nice. Now, let's be clear. A Grizzlebrand in play is still just absolutely horrendous for me. But I'm technically not losing the game from that alone. Technically. Alright, another Grizzlebrand discarded. Force of Will is just okay. Grab a black source. Probably Underground Sea, considering that I have a Flusterstorm. And I will sadly Thoughtseize my opponent, who has a draw 7 on a stick. Yeah, they've got a Daze that they just let resolve, or let me do this thing. I guess technically the Daze is scarier than the Sneak Attack. The Daze just kind of takes me off of everything that I can do forever. The Sneak Attack is still brutal, though, because my opponent has Ancient Tomb, and a Grizzlebrand draw 7 plus more cards per turn. I assume my opponent will probably be willing to just trade the Grizzlebrand for the Strix here. Yep. I will take that deal. They don't really have any choice in the matter. And my opponent will probably go off again. Alright, there's Basic Mountain. Oh yeah, sure. Like, anything that is not immediately killing me is good. Weird that my opponent played that Basic Mountain here. But they may just have enough artifact. Oh. Cool. Yeah, discard a bunch of cards. Let's go. Alright, so I've seen a Sneak Attack and a Grizzlebrand discarded. I've seen everything that I know about except Preordain discarded. And I have exactly one piece of interaction here. It can be Fluster or Force, depending on which one of those things seems better. But it's pretty unlikely that I get to stop what my opponent is doing here. But I will try. Yeah, there's the Force of Will back. And I'm just going to F6. And whatever happens from this sneak attack, happens from this sneak attack. I am willing to concede to the Emrakul. You know what? I'm actually not. I have 4 lands. Go to 1. I can't fetch. But I just have 4 mana sources. I know my opponent has at least 1 cantrip. Like, I probably lose this game 95% of the time. But, you know, let's play another turn or 2 of Magic. Let's pretend. Jace doesn't really do anything right now. Carpet also doesn't really do anything right now. My opponent has 1 island. Misty also doesn't do anything right now. In actuality, none of my things actually probably do anything right now. Like, the dream is hitting Leovold, I guess, and my opponent just bricking for the rest of the game. But I don't have a Pithing Needle that I'm playing towards. I guess I could draw... am I getting mooned? I'm getting mooned, sure. For entertainment value at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and pack that one in. I'm not technically dead, but I would be flailing around. Okay, so now I know about Blood Moon as well. I can be cognizant of that, and I have a handful of outs to it. I can consider playing a Force of Vigor or 2 now. I think Jace is going to come out for one of these, and then a Strix, question mark? Unsure on the other cut. I don't think what I cut matters too much as long as it's not one of my critical cards. This is a reasonable hand that I wish had a little bit more mana, but Sylvan Library can hopefully find me that mana. I am probably playing an end step Brainstorm on turn 1 to smooth out my hand. I would like to see a green fetch land. If I could kind of just ask for things that I want, build a wish list. That was a fast shuffle. Yeah, I'm gonna do this for the sake of mana efficiency here. Carpet. Carpet's okay. Put back both Grists. I'll redraw one of them. Alright, take a Grist. Play this. Fetch. I'll grab a Bayou. Play a Carpet of Flowers. And I think I just passed the turn holding up Flusterstorm here rather than tap out for Library. I've got my next land drop already, so I don't need to be immediately concerned with like digging for answers to what my opponent has going on. I'd like to just leave up Fluster for the rest of the game if possible. Okay, sure. Another Valk. Preordain's fine. So interestingly, Carpet of Flower adds mana of 1 color, which is definitely relevant. I'm gonna add blue. Play this. Do this. This is black and green for the Leovold. I believe will be worth fighting over with Flusterstorm if my opponent attacks it. Flusterstorm is the only tool that I have versus Show and Tell, but Leovold is a fantastic tool versus like the rest of my opponent's cantrip suite. So I think I'm in for this. And then I hope to kind of dodge for a turn or so and then play one of these sweet cards. Dodging plan has failed. It's not even the Show and Tell that my Grist can fight well. So that's not great, although Fluster wouldn't have stopped Sneak Attack anyway. Let's go yes here. make some blue, use one of that to play a Strix for a redraw. Yikes. There's a chance they don't have a creature immediately. Not a high chance, though. I guess at this point I am playing a library and hoping for the best. Force of Vigor would be a hot draw. It's mostly do they have the creature right now. Okay. There is a sneak attack. That's not good. That's worse. Yeah, okay. So this doesn't kill me, technically. Sacrifice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I blocked the Grizzlebrand. So my opponent doesn't have it around in the second main phase. So they can draw 7 rather than 14 if I do it this way. Or I guess, no, that's just objectively wrong. I have Leovold in play. That was stupid. I guess my opponent did that, though, so... Alright, my opponent goes to shuffle, and now I just hope that Leovold can attack 7 times. Or my opponent finds another creature. But I just objectively blocked the wrong creature. Just didn't do the math for my own Leovold in play, which was, like, very obvious. But my opponent missed it, too, by casting a Ponder, so... Alright, the illusion of choice. Emrakul was just hanging on top. GG's, but not super happy with how I played the tail end of that one. Okay, my mana doesn't work with this hand. This one's a mulligan. What a thing of beauty. I just keep this with 3 basics. Yeah, I am down with that. Let's go punch a hole in this hand with Thoughtseize. Oh, well, the basics are good. The bad news is my opponent is playing a good deck, and they have a relatively good opening hand. I hope they lead on Delver for some reason. I think it's just objectively wrong too, but I hope they lead on it so that I can Thoughtseize Dragon Rage Channeler. That card's spooky. Damn. Okay. Sylvan Library. I'm just gonna take out that Delver while I can take out that Delver. They don't have removal. Don't have removal right now. So Baleful Strix can hopefully trade with this. And I'm trying to kind of wait to deploy the Baleful Strix until the Dragon Rage Channeler has to attack. That would be ideal for me if this does actually trade with the Strix. The Sylvan Library is going to be good, but it's gonna feel a little slow. Oh yeah, I guess after double Thoughtseize, like, I am realistically taking a good amount of damage here. Oops, all Delvers. So I know about Wasteland, so I don't want to play that. I am going to play this as my land drop prior to playing Baleful Strix in case my opponent's one unknown card is Daze. But it does mean that some things like that can happen. Although I don't think I would cast this Thoughtcast here anyway, knowing 2 of my opponent's 3 cards. See if this flips. Oh. 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 That's so bad. Right, island goes to graveyard. This is kind of a good news, bad news situation. Where the good news is, I have some fantastic top decks that I can find, you know, like the Uros, the Endurances, and such, like, in theory, are going to be quite good. The bad news is, my opponent has, like, a very superior clock, and their cards, like Expressive Iteration and Force of Will, become very strong. My opponent has 1 unknown card. Is it worth it for me to cast this Thoughtseize? Depends on what the card is. Also could grow this. I'm gonna try it. Okay. Okay. I'm just gonna take this out now. I know the Delver hits me for more. I'm just gonna take that card out because that card giving my opponent resources for the future is very scary. We'll see whether or not I lose this game for going for the Thoughtseize. If that card is like Murktide Regent because my opponent didn't have the blue mana last turn, like, I look like a genius. But, oh wow, they're not even wastelanding me. That is interesting. Play Uro. Is worth another turn worth of Delver nonsense. Right, did not pick up a land. I picked up a very reasonable card, though. Will unfortunately just be passing my turn here. Sylvan Library is just a little slow in this matchup. Wonder if my opponent's last card is like a Force of Will, and that's why they didn't wasteland me. Land drop from my opponent. Now, potentially 2 unknown cards. I'm going to get rid of this other wasteland. Like, my opponent doesn't seem to be interested in wastelanding me, so I'm going to assume that they get rid of the other one. They might just wasteland me this turn. No? Grist doesn't feel like the most impressive thing in the world. It's technically an answer to the Delver, but once this Delver hits me one more time, any Lightning Bolt effect finishes me. Right. Grist resolves, plus this, pass the turn, and we'll see if I'm dead. There's not a lot that I can do if I am. And I have 2 slow cards in my hand right now. Yeah, you can fetch, that's fine. If it, no, I guess we're not in Mystic Sanctuary time yet. Well, I knew we weren't in Mystic Sanctuary time. My opponent, however, did not know that we were not in Mystic Sanctuary time. Okay, they are going to go ahead and attack me. Put me to 3. I'm not dead immediately to a Lightning Bolt, but I could still be. That Ponder was supposed to draw the Lightning Bolt, but because my opponent does not have the necessary number of islands, that ability did not work. No shuffle is horrifying for me. Also, my opponent does not need to be in a hurry to end this game. Like, they've got it. Go ahead and try to get every little edge I can here. I will attack for 1 point of damage. And then I'll sacrifice this thing to Grist. I suppose I can Ponder first. Try to set up this situation better. That's weird. I think I keep it. Grist, Jace, land, no shuffle, play land, attempt the whole Grist minus thing, sacrifice that, blow up that. So I have a Jace on top. Next turn, I have blue, blue, green, green for Uro. I don't have it this turn. I'm going to go ahead and just deploy a Sylvan Library. Not dead yet. A little surprised that this is the time that we decide to do that. Do I want to just dress down? I might just want to dress down now as a redraw. A trop for Uro purposes. Take a redraw. Force of Will is not exciting at this exact moment. And we're just kind of flirting with the line of death. My opponent either didn't get rid of the first wasteland or redrew it. Looks like I am facing down a Murktide Regent here. Fortunately, I'm not going to get to Uro. However, this is a 3/3. It doesn't get the additional counters. Oh, that's horrifying. One creature was pretty reasonable to deal with. Multiple, not so much. Although, I really wish I could keep multiple of these. It has to be Assassin's Trophy for Murktide Regent and then hope Delver doesn't flip. That's just the line, unfortunately. I will plus Grist. Nail those cards that I just put back. Well, Assassin's Trophy Murktide Regent. Now it is purely up to fate whether or not I am dead. Alright. If my opponent's Delver doesn't flip, Grist will kill Delver next turn. And I may be able to hold Force of Will open at that point as well. However, Delver does flip, and I die. For how bad that situation was very early on in the game, we put up a better fight than I was expecting there. Okay, I am interested in Carpet of Flowers. I'm not interested in a lot of this other stuff. Plague Engineer, Force of Negation, Flusterstorm are things that I can think about. Dress Down feels too slow. The Thoughtseizes don't line up very well versus Expressive Iteration as this game goes long. I think I'm probably going to pull those. Like, they can be okay, but I'm looking to just, like, make a bunch of land drops and then bury my opponent with Uro, and Thoughtseize doesn't super contribute to that plan in any way. If I play all of these cards, I will need one more cut. It can probably be a Force of Will. Like, my opponent is going to have red elemental blasts and such that make Force of Will look kind of silly. I'm gonna just think for a minute whether I would rather have some Thoughtseizes over Force of Will when I am on the play. Not insane. Jace also like lines up kind of poorly versus like lightning bolts and pyroblasts, but is a way to get Murktide Regent out of play. And this is where I just don't have like the heuristics of playing with blue cantrip decks a lot right now. Much more on the like Vile and Ancient Doom sort of plans. All right. We're going to be just leading on Carpet immediately, probably off of Bayou, given how these land drops look here. Carpet resolving is great for me. Probably not going to do much for the first turn cycle or two, but it's going to help me cast these cards in a meaningful way. I probably won't just jam either one of these into Daze next turn. I would much rather use that mana to take out some creature if possible. Probably jam a Sylvan Library into a Daze, though. Make black mana here. Play a land drop. Attempt to Fatal Push Dragon Rage Channeler. Seems like my opponent has a counterspell, and they're deciding whether or not this is worth it. It is worth it to them. Also worth a Murktide Regent. I believe I don't go for the second removal spell this turn. Like, resolving the removal spells feels more important to me than resolving the Sylvan Library. I could be wrong about that. I am just going to go ahead and jam this. If this works, it helps me hit more land drops. If it doesn't, it just gets another card, like another very meaningful card out of my opponent's hand. And then I have like Endurance Assassin's Trophy, Grist, plus Carpet of Flowers mana. That's fine. I will take 1 damage. Brings me to 17. Alright, and that is an island for the purposes of Carpet of Flowers. Ooh. It is time for some destruction. We'll be doing black with this, because I have green, green, black, black. Oh, that's also just good. This lets me hit another land drop. I will pay 4 life to make another land drop. And I'll put 1 of those back. Yes. Make black. Do this. Assassin's Trophy, a critter. I wonder if I'm supposed to play Grist here. Or Endurance, even. I wonder if I'm supposed to play Endurance, because I don't think my opponent has Daze right now. Maybe I'm supposed to play Endurance. Like, not in the way of Unholy Heat right now. Clears out the start of a graveyard. Would take a Force of Will. Nice. And I'm at the point of this game where this carpet is just going to do disgusting things. Murktide Regent not particularly strong right now either. If Delver flips. Delver flips to Ponder. Yeah, I will take the 2 for 1. Yep, Lightning Bolt's fine. Alright. Ponder's fine. Like, if we make it to my turn and my opponent doesn't have a new threat on board, that's so good for me. No shuffle. The new Dragon Rage Channeler. So we'll take that out with Assassin's Trophy. We'll do cool Sylvan Library things. Putting back a land, and probably just putting back another land. I don't need to take damage here. I'll say yes to this. I'll make some black. Make a land drop. I think cast this first. Kind of make this resolve before my opponent can have like a Spell Pierce up from Assassin's Trophy. Then Assassin's Trophy this, and then I will have priority back immediately. Or my opponent can do something like a Lightning Bolt. Alright, there is a Force of Will. Pitching a Murktide Regent. Now I will go ahead and plus and mill those lands off the top of my deck that I don't want. There's 3 card types in my opponent's graveyard, so if they have a land randomly as their top card, they can turn this into a 3/3. They don't, but they have something else that can kill Grist. Actually, this doesn't fly yet. They need this to be a land or artifact. It is a land. Yeah, that's unfortunate. That kills my Grist. I think this is fine. With Sylvan Library to fix all my draws here. My opponent didn't want to attack. Oh wow, they're going for me? Okay. That is a choice. Grist plus Sylvan Library together is very strong. I am a little surprised to see that. Jace is good. Just Jace bounce this out of the way. Back. Plague Engineer. And Forest. Yes. I'll make some blue mana. I will go ahead and mill those cards. I will play a Jace the Mindsculptor. Will bounce my opponent's attacker. And my opponent choosing not to kill my Grist potentially lost them this game. Because now this represents a removal spell that it didn't a minute ago, and I have 2 bonus bodies that can protect these planeswalkers to some degree. And Grist plus Sylvan Library lets me look at just so many cards here. Anyway, I'm digging this. I need to remember to always yes and always yield to this so it stops slowing me down. Let's put those lands back on top. Yes, I will use this ability. I will make some black. I'll go ahead and just minus that out of play again. We'll Grist, mill these lands out. I'm trying to just hit an Uro into my graveyard here. I haven't succeeded yet. Put this on human for future delvers. Crash in for 2. My opponent will go to 18. The next time they play this Dragon Rage Channeler, I can just safely Grist minus and kill it and start doing other things with Jace. Yeah, Bobble's fine. You're supposed to play the Dragon Rage Channeler prior to the Bobble if you are going to play it this turn. They may just give up on playing it since like it's just dead on board to Grist. Nope. Okay. So IDK about the sequencing there. It seems like you want to look one card, like at one more card because of your Flooded Strand. Strix is great. Go back, Wasteland, and B. Do this in my second main phase. Go ahead and minus this immediately. Yeah, sure. Sacrifice a token. Kill Dragon Rage Channeler. Now I'm going to go ahead and brainstorm with Jace, and then I'll set up my mana to do whatever I want in my second main phase while also attacking for 4. Lands can just go back. Battle on in. And game's feeling just fine at this point. Make some blue. Ponder. Oh, there's an Uro. Fantastic. No shuffle. Play Uro. Draw a card. Put a land into play. And wouldn't you know it, green, green, blue, blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't really care if my opponent's last card is a Daze. Yeah, this is disgusting. So now I play the Uro a second time. Gives me access to this Wasteland. And I'm going to go ahead and Wasteland my opponent's Mystic Sanctuary so they can't recur it with a Daze. And at this point, I've got like multiple Planeswalkers worth of value and almost lethal damage on board. Not too worried here. Yeah. That was a pretty dominant showing on my end, but a huge portion of why that game went as well as it did is my opponent did not respect Grist the way they should have. Like, they could have just killed that card, and I wouldn't have gotten to use that as a removal spell on their Dragon Rage Channeler like 2 or 3 turns later. So they made that game a little bit harder on themselves than they needed to. So some of my cards get worse on the draw. Thoughtseize, for example, gets significantly worse on the draw. It's like playing Thoughtseize that affects my opponent's hand once they get on board on turn 1 is just like not a great proposition. And again, like playing Force of Will into Red Elemental Blasts and Dazes when my opponent is on the play also is rough. So I think I'm just going to keep this configuration. Again, please don't take my sideboarding with blue decks as gospel, because it's almost certainly wrong in some capacity. This is an easy mulligan. All the right sort of cards, not the mana to cast them. This hand is fantastic. I don't know what to throw back. All of these cards are so good. I think I just keep 3 removal spells and get rid of Sylvan Library. I'd be much more tempted to just jam Sylvan Library when I am on the play. I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to keep the Library over the Grist. The Grist is slow too. This is a Delver. I might take a hit from it before removing it. If this is a Dragon Rage Channeler, I will just Fatal Push it on turn 1. I am not the biggest fan of letting Delver untap with Dragon Rage Channeler. The amount of graveyard value they get after just a single turn of this being in play is so huge that I don't necessarily think it is worth it to play around Daze. You just give them so much value when you do. Nice, and they didn't have it here. So next up, we're hoping this land doesn't get wastelanded because it is my only black source, and we've dodged that as well. Oh, and a turn 2 EI is actually really good for me because that means that my opponent is very unlikely to turn that into 2 cards. Like, they have to hit a bauble. Otherwise, it's just a selection spell, and I'm very good with that because the EIs get pretty scary in the late game. Yeah, that's a red Elemental Blast to exile. Nice. Ooh. Don't mind if I do. So now the next question is, do I just jam Grist if Carpet resolves? I think I do, because they didn't have a Daze as of last turn. I think I just jam. Ever so slightly greedy to do so, given how much mana I have, but like, I've sussed out that I don't think they have Daze, so I'm going to lean further into that, and I would be fine trading with Force of Will or Force of Negation here. Yeah, force pitching Brazen Borrower, that is fine. So now I'm just hoping the top of my deck can do the things that I want the top of my deck to do. Fatal Push, notably, will miss Murktide Regent right now, and I kind of think my opponent has a Murktide, because they went for that EI play last turn, which like shows me they did not have a 1-drop threat that would have been much better to play. So here's to hoping we can find something to answer this relatively quickly. I've got a good amount of mana. Anyway, I have a good amount of mana. I just have to find something to do with it. 4-turn clock. And some of my answers to that aren't fantastic answers because they get disrupted by something else. Just Fatal Push that right now. I'm already playing around Daze and Spell Pierce. Are you stifling this trigger? They have fetched in a way that just intentionally gives me more mana. Unfortunately, we're just running on nothing here. My Carpet has not succeeded in doing anything cool yet. I need like a Baleful Strix. That may not be enough if my opponent has Lightning Bolt, but something of that ilk. An Assassin's Trophy would be cool. Sudden Edict is about the best possible thing I could draw. We'll go black mana. I will just drop another land. I'll just Sudden Edict my opponent. That takes out Murktide Regent while playing around counterspells. Is a pretty big deal. And now again, we're looking for like Jace, Grist, Endurance, Baleful Strix, Leovold. Honestly, I'll take a cantrip at this point. Yeah, Wasteland away, friend. Wasteland away. Yeah, that's fine. It's actually my 5th card in graveyard for Uro. Rix! So let's go yes here. I actually named black with this. I'll attempt a Baleful Strix. There's a good chance my opponent has a Pyroblast. Oh. I will pay 2 life for that. I don't think my opponent's cards are that good, but I'll pay 2 life to know what they are. Okay, Bolt is fine. Force of Negation, sure. I will play this as a land drop. It's not a very good spell here. But we're in a top deck war where my life total is lower, but my average top deck is probably much better than my opponent's. That's not an example of one that's better. I'm just going to add mana here so I don't have to add it again later. All right, cool. So my opponent pretty likely has a counterspell of some nature in hand. And I'm just going to add mana to make this easier on myself. So now I have an answer for a big scary card like Murktide Regent with a Flusterstorm backup. And we play this game. Okay. Land drop's great for me. So that just means my opponent is about to cast something, right? I should probably not let them Surveil 1. Let's just immediately Assassin's Trophy that card. Lightning Bolt me, sure. That worth 3 life? That seems fine. Every point of life matters for like Murktide Regent size stuff later. whack same targets a whole bunch of times. So now this stack is going to clear. Assassin's Trophy kills Dragon Rage Channeler. Opponent does have another island. Polluted Delta can put a Lightning Bolt on top if that's something that they want. I don't think that's something they want. They disagree. I don't understand. Like, Lightning Bolt is very much an above average draw while I am at 8 life. Like, you want a creature. Yes. I will make blue mana. I will play Jace the Mindsculptor. I will +2. Target me. That is a Plague Engineer. Yeah, I'll put that on bottom. And then my opponent can draw this Lightning Bolt that does not actually kill Jace the Mindsculptor. My opponent also might just time out. Strix is great. I'll say yes. I will add blue mana. Actually, I can probably just add black. Let's just go ahead and play a Strix, draw a card, get a little deeper, and then I will Jace Brainstorm. Okay, we're on Birdstorm here. Birdstorm is 2. Delta's not great. Now Brainstorm. I don't care about Thoughtseize. I don't care about Underground Sea. Go ahead and just fetch those away. Probably just getting a black source of some kind, maybe a Bayou. Playing a Sylvan Library. Now I have very superior card selection relative to my opponent. Very superior mana. More creatures on board. More clock. Basically, most things are going my way. And outside of something like a Price of Progress randomly killing me, I think I'm good. It kind of feels like my opponent is inexperienced at this deck. Alright. Let's do this thing. Always yes. Always yield. Yes. I will put back Delta and Ponder here. Just hold Force of Negation. Say no to that. Go ahead and Jace Brainstorm. I'll pick up that Ponder in all likelihood. Put back land. Ponder, intending to shuffle that. We're basically looking for an Uro at this point. Grist is not bad. I'll take a Grist. I'll take it next turn, though, because I made a little mistake. I shouldn't have pondered. Go ahead and play that. Yeah, by tapping for the Ponder with mana, I make it so that I'm not holding up Force of Negation anymore, and that's one of the ways that I might not actually be safe. So I will go ahead and just play Grist next turn. I just don't want my opponent to resolve something like an Expressive Iteration. Like, I'll let them ponder, that's fine. I just don't want to let them, like, double Lightning Bolt me or Price of Progress me or something. Archetype Regent's fine. Like, that can resolve. I have a Grist on top of my library. I have a Jace with 5 loyalty in play. That is not a problem. Yep. Oh man, it feels good when you can just let a Murktide Regent resolve because you don't care about it. That's nice. So this will go back. And this will go back. I'm gonna do some sloppy sequencing here. Make some green. Jace. Bounce Murktide Regent. Play Grist. Grist can plus those kind of medium cards off the top of my library. Again, I'm supposed to have attack first before this, but I know what my opponent's one card is, and I am not scared. In you go, birds. Yeah, we're good. Delver's fine. You may play your Murktide as well. No Uro in graveyard yet. Murktide resolves. I can bounce and kill these in some combination and not really have to worry about it. Oh, sick, another Plague Engineer. Thoughtseize goes back. Endurance goes back. Yes. Make black mana. Play Plague Engineer, put it on human. Do that. Let's Grist minus to kill this and just permanently deal with it. Get rid of Insect. Destroy this. I will just continue to Jace Brainstorm. I don't think I need to Fate Seal. Not worried about the cards that my opponent can have. Nice, there's an Uro. Put back Thoughtseize. Back Endurance. Play Uro. Gain a little bit of a life buffer. Draw the Endurance. Say no to that. Go to combat. Attack with birds. Hold up both endurance and force of negation. We're so beyond good here. Dragon Rage Channeler resolves. It dies immediately to Plague Engineer because my opponent has one card type in graveyard. I don't care if my opponent Lightning Bolts Grist. Just going to put more pressure in play and just end this game. There's a nice elemental. Junk your creatures. Opponent lets them go. When library happens, we'll put back Thoughtseize and land. Say no to carpet. Plus Grist, mill those cards. Back for a gajillion D. Opponent goes to 2. Second main phase, yes. Make blue. Cast Uro. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lightning Bolt on Grist. Out of spite, say no. It's objectively the wrong play to do that, by the way. Don't do that. But I don't think there's a way that I can lose from here. Ponder. Or take another endurance. Shuffle. No. Oh, I haven't even Jaced. Jace. +2. Target you. Rough tumble. Sure. You can keep that. I'll fetch. Find a land. Play another creature. To assert my dominance. Target you. I have like 20 power on board. Would you like to rough or tumble? You would like to rough. That kills Plague Engineer. Really good at finding Thoughtseizes. Let's put some cards back. Say no to that. Yeah, and my opponent has conceded. Alright. I have been recording this league for eons, it feels like. We're 2-2. This deck's okay, but it's not very good at quickly closing matches, which I don't like. Alright, my brain is a potato. I've been recording this deck for a few hours. I'm enjoying playing this deck a lot. Oh shit, it's ninjas! Retrofitter Foundry is a nuisance long-term. Yuriko is a nuisance short-term. It's one of these two cards. I have decays and stuff to get rid of Retrofitter Foundry. I think I'm more afraid of the card draw for right now. I'm just going to take the Yuriko. But yeah, I have worked a normal person job, and now I'm on, like, I don't know, hour 3 or so, probably emphasis on the or so, of recording this league. And the rounds have been long. I mean, I guess those go hand in hand, right? But let's see if I can not embarrass myself this round at the very least. The kind of good news here is that, like, my opponent and I are going to mostly stare at each other for a while, and some of the larger cards in my... Oh, okay, they're not even going to go for Strix, they're just going to go for making tokens. That is, I suppose, fine. Oh, there's an Assassin's Trophy for Retrofitter Foundry. That forces the Force of Will effect. I don't really want those other cards. I will go ahead and take the first of those. Grab like a tropical island here. I'll pass the turn, and then after my... Or I guess... No, I'll still just pass the turn. After my opponent activates this and taps themselves out, I will just Assassin's Trophy the Retrofitter Foundry. Again, this is totally worth 2 cards to me. See how my opponent values this card. They don't know exactly what they're playing against yet, and in not knowing what they play against, it might just be incorrect for them to use a Force of Will in this instance. I mean, I don't want to do this, but I also don't want my opponent cheating in ninjas already. Like, I would very much like to be the person doing cool nonsense. Orthopter's fine. This probably means that I don't Fatal Push immediately, now that my opponent has 2 things. I might still just want to go for the Baleful Strix so my opponent can't bounce that in combat, though. Alright. I guess I can take my land drop. Yeah, it kind of sucks, because, like, if they just have another ninja here, they get to do cool ninja things. And I think it's correct for me to just take out that Strix now. My opponent has a ninja, and I let them bounce the Baleful Strix. That just gets them another card later. Have all lands here, so I need to find some gas. Nice. Lucked out. That's an immediate 4/4. Opponent still has Force of Will backing up what they're doing. I'm not interested in dredging life from the loam. I am, I think, interested in Grist. I think I also want to pull lands out of my deck, so I think I am going to go ahead and play that. See how my opponent feels about this resolving. It's like not that scary, but apparently scary enough. So end of turn, I assume this is happening. Oh, the patience. I'm going to assume that my opponent has more experience playing their deck than I do. Like I've played a handful of Ninja Leagues, but like they very pointedly didn't force protecting this, then did force against Grist, which didn't seem that scary to me with like what my opponent had on board, but could be wrong. All right, now it begins. That is an ingenious infiltrator. My opponent gets to draw a card, and then Ornithopter comes back. It can now become a 4/4 if they so desire. Not interested in life from the loam right now. Fuck. I need live draws. And I believe it is better. Okay, they're going for a Thopter that way. I don't know. I would have valued beating my face in, personally, but what they are doing is working just fine. I haven't gotten, an endurance or whatever to punish some of this stuff. If this is a Yuriko, I could theoretically die here. That's a Yuriko. So, in case you haven't seen this in action before, this says whenever a ninja, and this says whenever a ninja. So my opponent will draw 2 cards and then reveal the top card of their library. I take 1 from a Fatal Push, and 0 from an island. When those randomly flip like Force of Wills, it's devastating. And I don't know. We need some crazy brainstorm or something. Thoughtseize is not it. 2, 3, 4, 5, or even more if they just convert that into a 4/4. I'm comfortable throwing in the towel here, but I guess I'll Thoughtseize my opponent first. If I see anything cool, like see if I need to be aware of Snuff Out or something. Hey, it's Snuff Out. I'm aware of it. I'll now concede. Alright. So I don't know exactly how much stuff to sideboard. I have a lot of options. So, like, I have 5 different cards that can attack the Retrofitter front. I have Plague Engineer, which can attack the Servo front or the Ninja front, and, like, do very good splash damage versus Changelings. And I have a different counterspell suite that I can work with, but I'm not sure which of these things is best. I don't think I want Dress Down. Jace the Mindsculptor feels very slow here. I'm not the biggest fan of Force of Will, because a lot of the things that I would Force of Will are, like, coming in off ninjutsu rather than just being cast normally. And Thoughtseize doesn't seem great when my opponent just has a bunch of creatures that draw a card. So this can get me Carpet, Oof, Engineer, Seeds, Fluster? Seeds will destroy my Baleful Strix. Do I care? I don't know that I care. Do I want to play like 2 Thoughtseize, 2 Forces, 1 Force of Will, 1 Force of Negation? How do I want to do these final slots? Force of Vigor can also like deal with Ornithopters. Play 2 Thoughtseizes when I'm on the play. These are reasonable cards that don't do anything right now. I think I still keep it. Brainstorm's a hell of a drug. Like, that'll allow me to get rid of the Wasteland at minimum. And there's no guarantee that this match actually goes fast. Let's just do a thing. Play a Sylvan Library. Resolves great. If it doesn't, a card or 2 out of my opponent's hand. If for some reason my opponent doesn't play a card this turn, it would be insane. But I was expecting them to throw down some threat or other this turn. All right. Always yes. Always yield. Second library is very bad. That goes on top. Seeds of Innocence is not really exciting here. It technically kills a Baleful Strix, but I'm not pumped about that. I think I'm just going to go ahead and throw that on top. Pick up like a Bayou or something here. Yeah, that gives me green, green, and black. And let's go ahead and start throwing some cards around. This got Force of Willed the last time I played it, so it resolving here is great for me. Multiple lands to graveyard. Happy enough with that. Now, unfortunately, this is effectively unblockable here. But a lot of the ninjas do cool things when they deal combat damage to a player, not to a planeswalker. My opponent will very much have a real choice. Long pause. All right, it is Grist being attacked. Okay, that is a Moon Circuit Hacker. And again, this is combat damage to a player. Is all A-okay with me. And Baleful Strix can happen. Oh, those are some cards. Fatal Push is great. Burrow's great. Strix is great. Yeah. I'm just gonna take it all here. Probably Fatal Push. Strix immediately. Let's see if this resolves. If this resolves, I can just plus Grist this turn. I don't have to outright kill Moon Circuit Hacker. I can just block it. A little short on black mana for what I might like here. Let's play this. Fetch, pick up another Bayou. Play an Uro. This will get me an extra land drop. Going to be Wasteland. Flint. Sacrifice Uro. Take out my opponent's black source. Call it a turn. Absolutely no attack here. I just want extra blockers back in case my opponent has like a fatal push or something. Rainstorms, okay. Feel pretty confident that I'm going to win this game. Like, my opponent has good resources. Like, while this brainstorm is resolving, they have 10 cards in hand. But I'm very far ahead on board in terms of mana, like, number of bodies, ability to remove threats. And a follow-up Ponder to shuffle. Oh, no shuffle. Found the land they wanted. And no attack there. I don't need I don't really need most of this stuff right now. Go back a forest and a delta. I am going to just attempt this. It's cool if it resolves. It's cool if it doesn't. I will play a Trop first in case I need to randomly play around a daze. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Done. Oh, it just resolved. That's cool. Now I'll use this to make an extra land drop. I want to even minus this. I guess I can just kill that creature. I don't really need to, but it's not bad to do so. So, then play a Strix afterwards. Technically, I should attack with this insect first, but that is unlikely to matter. A little hard to tell exactly what is in my opponent's hand. Like, they had some good opportunities to cast stuff and didn't. Push is fine. I will get that Uro back next turn. Like, Grist is going to just fuel that. Yeah, cantrip away. I am not worried about that. Okay. So my opponent could play a reasonable 3-mana card here. Strix is fine. Retrofitter Foundry is a little annoying, but I think I will beat that one way or another here. Put back a Thoughtseize and the other Uro here. I will Grist plus to just mill those. Or I guess mill the second Uro. 1, 2, 3. This will be 4. This will be 5. Let's ponder. Carpet is plus a lot of mana. I don't think I need that. I don't need Thoughtseize either. But I'm in a position where I can cast that. Let's figure out what exactly is going on over there. What is this one? Beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a green or white permanent. Annoying. I don't want that in play. I don't know that that's the best take there, but I don't want to mess around with that. Cast an Uro. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Done. You can force a will if you want. A force, pitching a brainstorm. I'll do it again next turn. Bash in with an insect. On it goes to 15. So for next turn, I have 1, 2, 3 cards covered with Grist very easily. Murderous Cut on my Strix is fine. Grist's loyalty is not in question here. I am being attacked by Strix. Did my opponent draw a ninja for this turn? They did. It is Yuriko. I know the top card in my library right now, at least in theory. I believe it is actually a spell. Oh, that's their library that matters, not my library. All right, my brain is mush. Apologies for that. That was just bad. I don't know why I thought that. I mean, I do know why I thought that. It's because I've been recording for 3 hours. This is fine. All right, and the Strix. All right, so I don't care about Fluster or land. Put both of those on top here. Go ahead and mill the... Well, actually, I might use this as a removal spell in some worlds. So let's start here. Black, blue for Strix. Draw a card. Then cast the Brainstorm. Seeds of Innocence is interesting. Yeah, I think I'm into that. Put back... Oh. Put back Endurance Fluster. Plus... Get rid of the Fluster. Play a land drop. Play a Verdant Catacombs. And attempt to destroy Strix and Retrofitter Foundry. While having 3 blockers for insects. Nice. So I've got Uro next turn. I've got Endurance next turn. I have Grist remove next turn. I'm just going to keep all of these back. If I win this game, it's going to be by a lot, not by a little. Plague Engineer on Insect would be kind of annoying. We've gone through a lot of cards. Turn 7. It's turn 7 and we both seen like half of our libraries. Very. Fine. I will just chump block Yuriko if Yuriko comes in. Not willing to go for the triple block and lose a bunch to removal here. Just let Sylvan Library do Sylvan Library things as this game goes on. Not interested in Fluster. And I'm probably honestly not interested in Thoughtseize either. Let's just top both of those. Grist minus, take out Yuriko. Take out Baleful Strix, actually. Maybe take out Baleful Strix. I have 2 endurances to trade with Yuriko in combat. Yeah. Otawara. Annoying and good value. Okay. Again, I'm gonna go ahead and just hold this back in case something goes wrong. This also, like, makes it look like I don't have anything and makes a Yuriko attack just more likely. It looks like I'm trying to protect this Grist when that's not the case. Strix is fine. And now this Yuriko is going to come in, and I'm going to ambush it. Nice. There's Endurance. I will empty their graveyard in case something like a Gurmag Angler or Murktide Regent is a part of the deck. Very nice. Changeling Outcast is unblockable. Other land. Nice. This is probably the point where I pivot and I become the beatdown. Let's Endurance. Send that Yuriko back into deck. You can redraw that. I believe I still know the top card for Sylvan Library. Since I have so many lands, I'm just going to grab another basic just in case my opponent has some sort of nonsense effect that I have to end up playing around. Boseiju to get Baleful Strix out of the way is reasonable. Put that back. Put that back. Boseiju, get Strix out of the way. They do have so many basics. There's an attack for 7. This can't block. One goes to 10. I plus Grist. Didn't randomly spike an Uro. This is 8 damage. If I had been a little bit more aggressive with some insect attacks, this could in theory be lethal next turn. But again, with this Sylvan Library in play, I think I'm just good. So my opponent has to attack Grist here, so Grist can't just threaten an Edict. But this is pretty bad for them. Yeah, that doesn't block. That is not what they're looking for. Life from the Loam gets back Boseiju. Not super interesting to me. It's probably better than these other 2 cards, though. So let's Grist plus 1 of those out of the way. Swing in for 8 of that remaining 10. Opponent goes to 2. Life from the Loam for 3 targets. Last card a fairy. Last card's not a fairy. Alright, land drop pass. We're very much beyond lethal damage here. You may respectfully kill my Grist on the way out the door. This is fine. That's fine. Or an enchantment creature. Or artifact, enchantment, or non-basic land. Boop. Got him. Grist takes 1. Grist, we're not letting you go down with the ship here, buddy. Don't worry. Not interested in dredging on any one of these. None of these are really good. I'll keep Seeds of Innocence, I guess. I guess I'll keep Fluster. It, like, literally doesn't matter. Just swinging for a billion. Alright. Gotta play another game. The second Grist that I put in this deck is, like, doing some serious work. Some of this Seeds of Innocence, Force of Vigor stuff is a little awkward. The Thoughtseizes are a little worse on the draw. I might want extra copies of Force of Vigor, just because, like, I can gum up the ground so well with, like, Grist tokens and Uro and stuff, but it's, like, the evasion in the air that I'm not super great against. But I think keeping a couple of Thoughtseizes to pave the way for important cards, the resolve or stick does matter. I have a risky opening hand. It has wonderful tools, and if this Carpet of Flowers resolves, it's great, and if the Carpet of Flowers doesn't resolve, it's very bad. I think with a Brainstorm, I can maybe string something together even if things with this carpet don't work out, so I think I'm willing to keep this. Maybe that's just wrong, though. My opponent not fetching a basic there. Pretty rough. A basic island there is kind of rough for me. This needs to be Trop. I think I just ponder rather than play carpet here. Need to find land drops. That's a land drop. I'm not the biggest fan of these cards, but I think I just have to guaranteed take the land drop here. I'm looking to play Carpet of Flowers next turn with Flusterstorm backup. And then after that, I'm looking to play Plague Engineer, hopefully killing a Changeling Outcast and whatever ninja my opponent has. But this is kind of their big opportunity to pull ahead. And we'll see what they do with it. My hand's a little clunky, so if they can snowball now, like it's a big moment. So I will attempt Carpet of Flowers. Nice. Since this works, I can now use this for color fixing and make black mana here. And use the black mana to cast the Baleful Strix that I previously couldn't. Nice. So now I'm at the point where I get fresh draws next turn. It's in theory trades with this card, but yeah. That sort of stuff was going to happen some portion of the time. I'll take 2 more. My opponent gets another card. I would love for them to play another island. I could use more mana. I mean, admittedly, they can too. It's like an Underground Sea, for example, lets them play a Changeling Outcast. But so does like Prismatic Vista into Swamp. A little tight on mana for this Flusterstorm. This is one of those spots where, like, I wish I had the Force. Yeah, there's a basic. So this Plague Engineer, in theory, looks really good here. Fatal Push. I think I just have to go for the Plague Engineer. Wish I had 1 more mana, but I don't think I can take a turn off to Brainstorm here. Nice. I'm just going to name Ninja here. So that shrinks this to a 1/2, meaning that it does not trade with Plague Engineer directly in combat. Now, another Fatal Push or a Murderous Cut or something can just take this out of the way. I don't feel like I have to like name something like Servo here, since I do have Seeds of Innocence in hand. The next turn's really complicated if I don't hit a land drop. Probably involves not using Carpet of Flowers in first main, but casting Brainstorm off basic island. Oh, it's a Plague Engineer right back. On Bird? On Phyrexian, sure. I mean, I am just going to trade with that. Like, I still do have 1 power and I have Death Touch, so like I accept. Fatal Push is a removal spell for that if I draw a fetch land or otherwise can get Revolt. I have some very annoying ways of getting Revolt. Not good ways that I like. I'm going to say no to this in first main and attempt to Brainstorm and smooth this out. I really could use a fetch land. All right, fantastic. I'm not interested in Seeds of Innocence right now. I don't really have mana for Flusterstorm either. I'm going to go ahead and play Verdant Catacombs. I think go ahead and move to second main phase. Go ahead and make a black mana here. Fetch for Revolt. Need black. I also need green probably, so this can be a Bayou. We will now Fatal Push that Plague Engineer. And just play a Collector Oof as a body that's on the board that makes Retrofitter Foundry worse. And now we're getting to the point of the game where hopefully I can make like these Uros and Endurances do stuff. Ooh. That's an annoyance. I can still play a lot of stuff due to Carpet. Let's say no to that. Let's do a first main phase Brainstorm. Looking for fetch lands. Found a fetch land. You can go back. You can go back. Play fetch land. Go to combat. Attack for 2. I need my opponent to play another island for me to start deploying my 3-drops safely. I can wait on that. Polluted Delta Confined Swamp as a basic. The fairy, yeah, that's fine. I think given that my mana is constrained and that has evasion, I do just kill it here. Despite the fact that that is not exciting. Go away. Very nice. So I'll say no to that in first main phase. I'll do that in second main phase. Bam. Enough out, that's fine. Second main phase, I'll say yes to that. I will make green. I have one of each basic. I think I just play Uro here. I guess I play this land, then play Uro. Then I can use this land to bring Uro back next turn. There's yet another land. Yeah, so we've handily got Uro next turn. Unless my opponent has a second fairy. So I do wish one of these was a fetch that got my basic forest. That would make things much easier. Ponder away. I also have enough cards in graveyard to try Uro a couple of times, although the resources to do that are pretty awkward. Yep, that's fine. Give me more mana. They will not give me more mana. Wasteland. Probably Wasteland Polluted Delta. I might not need to do that. Yes, let's pick green here. Do some fetching. Here is a second green source. Do some fetching. Green, green, blue. Fairy, sure. Probably needs to be another green land now. A tropical island. Play wasteland. Cast an endurance. Need a second green and some other color. Send away your graveyard in case it's relevant. Endurance by itself is a 4-turn clock. I have one more Uro. My opponent has a ninja here. It is pretty annoying, but like this is kind of what their deck is designed to do, so I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. Yep. See how much I take. Ingenious Infiltrator. That's a lot of damage. Yep. So kind of need an answer to a creature right now. That's not quite what I need right now. Just going to keep that as a surprise. I'm going to hold back Endurance, so Endurance can attack Yuriko. Guess technically I'm probably supposed to use the Carpet of Flowers mana for Back to Basics in case the Back to Basics can be bounced. If my opponent just attacks with Changeling Outcast, which I believe is the correct attack. Yep. Now the Ingenious Infiltrator comes in, which unfortunately is not an enchantment or artifact. My opponent just hits me for that. Gets both of those triggers. See how much this is. Force of Will. Disgusting. Uh-huh. I don't think I can beat the Force of Will. I think that's just one step too many there. So let's Boseiju this Back to Basics. That at least gives me a snowball's chance at winning this game, but my opponent Force of Will's literally whatever scary thing that I draw. And then I am dead to onboard cards. Like, if not for the Force of Will, I have live outs here. But that is not one of them. I am comfortable conceding there. And we're going to end up with a 2-3 finish in this league. Okay. My camera got very blurry. Overall thoughts on the deck list. I'll make myself less blurry this way. It's 9:30. I think I started recording this around 6 p.m. So this was like a 3.5 hour league. This was an incredibly slow to play league. And what that probably means is that, like, if you are playing this in a paper event, in like, you know, a GP style event, you know, an 8 to 15 round event where you are going to play an absolute ton of matches, some of your matches are either going extremely long or are going to time. And part of the reason that I play slowly here is like because I am trying out a new deck while also doing a lot of commentary. But generally speaking, even on the games that I was winning and I knew what I was doing, the turn counter was ticking very high. And this is a deck with a very good end game. Whether or not you are going to die in the early game to some faster combo decks, hard to tell. I like the tools that are available here. I think this deck is fine. You can probably make some improvements. Again, kind of like I stated earlier in the league, I don't know that I need this many anti-artifact cards. I don't think I brought in the Force of Vigors, at least not both of them in this league. But I like the tools that I have access to. Grist and Uro is a pretty reasonable match. I liked the range of answers that I had, but a couple of times we did see situations where I had the wrong removal spell versus the wrong card. And generally speaking, I don't know that what I'm doing here is better than just playing Expressive Iteration, because that card is busted and should probably be on Legacy's banned list. And similarly, I don't know that if you're playing a control style list, if it's like, why are you not playing Swords to Plowshares? And although this deck is good, I don't see a reason to play this over other existing control decks. Also, I probably want the Fourth Ponder in the deck list over one of the random cards. I don't know. The Dress Down seemed expendable to me versus what I played against. It was just a little slow. But then again, it also did strip like 5+1/+1 counters off a Murktide Regent. So there's that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, click the like button on the way out. I'm going to get ready for bed and do the things that I need to do to wrap up this evening. I hope you enjoyed and have a great rest of the day. See ya.